What is up, everybody? That's here, and today I'm going to bring you guys a little video going over what I believe are the correct abilities for every single one of the confirmed Mega Evolutions so far in Legends ZA. With today's new Nintendo Direct, we got a bunch of new info on the new Mega Evolutions. We got 5 new Megas, and I believe as a competitive player who's been playing VGC since 2011, that, I think I have a pretty good understanding of how TPCI likes to make these abilities. I've made videos on every other Mega Evolution at some point in my YouTube history, and so through looking at a bunch of the information that we have so far on the Legends ZA site, I think I've actually found that Pokemon is letting us know what these abilities are in plain sight. So if you guys like these sort of discussion videos, you want to see more, think about dropping a sub on the channel, and let's get right into it. Starting things off strong, I want to talk about Mega Greninja first. Mega Greninja is one of the most popular Megas that we've actually seen announced so far. You know, a lot of people really like Ash Greninja. Regular Greninja has been a fan favorite for years. I think what we actually want to do is take a look at this little Pokedex info about Mega Greninja, and that's where we're going to get a lot of the information that'll help us understand what we think the ability will be based off of this information. So we're reading this right here. It says, like, it intentionally reveals itself to push opponents into attacking, then it detects their incoming attacks and moves so swiftly that it's able to strike first. Strike first. Why would it say strike first? What's so important about strike first? What abilities could that be? You know, you could be thinking that, it could get a brand new ability that makes all of its already priority moves another +1 priority, so you can start outspeeding things that are using extreme speed. But what I really think is, if we take a look at Greninja here, I really think that it's going to be Prankster. I think it's going to be Prankster for Greninja here. And you may be thinking, like, Prankster doesn't really sound like it works with Greninja. Greninja gets a lot of damage-dealing moves. Prankster wouldn't really be that good, but he gets access to things like Haze. He gets access to, like, spikes and different sort of hazards and things like that. There are a lot of good moves that Greninja does get that can be boosted by Prankster. But at the same time, all it would really take is giving it Tailwind to make it one of, like, the best Prankster users in the game. Like, another Dark-type Prankster Tailwind that has, like, really good offensive stats, that'd be really cool. And you're probably thinking, like, well, Greninja doesn't really seem like it would learn Tailwind. Well, there are a lot of Pokemon that actually get Tailwind that are not, like, generally, like, birds or flying types. And you got things like, Whimsicott gets Tailwind, right? Whimsicott gets Tailwind, and it's a little fluff ball. You got Suicune is another thing that gets Tailwind. That doesn't really look like a bird either. So I think Greninja could get Tailwind, because also if we take a look at their Greninja here, it's like upside down. It's kind of like a little helicopter, right? It's almost like a little helicopter. And if the Shuriken's spinning up there, Greninja could be setting Tailwind through that, like, wind generation there. I think that would be super, super cool. And I'm going to lock in that I think they're giving Mega Greninja Prankster. And we've had other Mega Evolutions get Prankster in the past. Notably, Mega Banette got Prankster. And it unlocked a whole new way to play that Pokemon that was a good in-between between, like, the Bruiser potential that it already had, gaining, like, a ton of attack, and the potential to go for, like, status moves like Will-O-Wisp. But hopefully Greninja could get something like that. I think that would be really cool. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with Prankster on Mega Greninja. But I think this whole strike first thing, why would they include that, I've looked over all the other things. I really think that it's going to get Prankster. And that's like a notable dark type thing, so I think it's a pretty safe bet. Let's take a look at Mega Delphox next. Mega Delphox, right? Really, really cool. I think this is a lot of people's favorite design so far. It says it uses psychic powers to confuse opponents, making for a tricky fighting style that allows it to unerringly deal damage. I think that's kind of a weird word that they chose there. But that being said, scrolling down here, the word that I really want to note on is in this sentence right here. It says, it also floats atop a large lit branch, dazzling its foes even further. Why would they use that? Why are they using dazzling to describe it? Upon looking at this thing, I really thought it was going to get, like, psychic terrain, right? I thought that they could actually give it psychic surge, right? How, like, Indeedee and Tapu Lele have. But I think it's actually going to get dazzling. In contrast to its disorientating opponents, Mega Delphox stays calm and collected as it deals damage by landing precise attacks. I think that this means it's going to get Dazzling. And for those guys who don't know what Dazzling is the signature ability of Bruxish. So Dazzling is a really cool ability where it basically just protects you and your teammates from priority moves. So imagine, like, using Delphox and saying, like, oh, I can just go for TR, like, you can't fake out me or my teammate. This would make Delphox, like, a really splashable Pokemon on every single team. So is Prankster, by the way. Those are both very splashable moves. And so since they want people to be excited about these Pokemon, they need to give them good abilities that will make them usable on a wide variety of teams. You can't just give Greninja something that makes it only work in, like, really one niche situation, right? You got to make them you know, readily available for like a wide number of Pokemon. So I think Mega Delphox, who like I think Delphox is actually a really really cool Pokemon. I think it's going to get Dazzling. I think it'd be really cool. You know, it's not going to be able to really utilize Magician since it has a Mega Stone. Blaze wouldn't really work, but having like Dazzling and being able to set like Trick Room could be really, really nice. You know, it's probably going to get a little bit faster, probably a little bit stronger. But that being said, like it can be the perfect Pokemon to be like on an imprisoned Trick Room team with that Dazzling to make sure you don't, you know, get fake outed in that situation. I think it'd be actually really, really cool. Let me know if you think that Dazzling is going to be its ability, or if you've read something else and think it's going to be something else, please let me know. That being said, we're going to take a look at the next mon, Mega Chesnaught. Now, I really like Mega Chesnaught. Mega Chesnaught and just Chesnaught in general is one of my absolute favorite starters of all time. I really, really like this guy. This guy has, you know, I've seen a lot of people saying it's going to get like Grassy Surge like Rillaboom. It says its hardened armor boosts its high defensive capabilities. While Mega Chesnaught moves to attack, this armor becomes a powerful weapon with which to smash opponents. I think this is pretty easy what this is going to be. You can also read it down here. It's like energy from Mega Evolution has been channeled into its outer shell and throughout its body, resulting in a dramatic increase in its defensive capabilities. This is just generally my opinion. Not every Mega Evolution is supposed to be like absolutely amazing. There are some stinkers if we take a look at some of them over the years. And this one, I think, it doesn't seem like a stinker at first, but it might seem underwhelming when we compare it to like Delphox and Greninja, because I think the ability it's going to get is the same as Mega Slowbro, being Shell Armor, making this Pokemon immune to critical hits. If we just take a look at like Shell Armor over here, right, doesn't even want to show up. Well, now, here we go. Shell Armor ability, right? So there's not that many mons that really get it, but Shell Armor says this Pokemon cannot be struck by a critical hit. And you may think that's really, really bad. That's terrible. I want something that makes me super strong, but that's not what this Pokedex entry says. It says it's like the spiny armor Pokemon. It increases its defensive capabilities. I really think it's just going to be getting Shell Armor, because if you take a look at Chesnaught, the way that it's actually used in like competitive play, you know, if we were to put Shell Armor there, it has access to like Protect, it gets moves like Wide Guard, it gets things like Leech Seed, but like the way that most people like to play it is through the use of like Iron Defense and Body Press, and it stabs the Body Press. This would make it so like if once you get the +6 off the Iron Defenses, they can't crit you through all those boosts. So like it makes it so you just can't lose on the defensive side, which like Mega Slowbro has had that before. It's been really, really good. There's been a lot of other mons like Hisui Gudra has had the same option. This is just a new variant that now has Leech Seed. So like if you're a fan of like Iron Defense Body Press playstyles, like this is your new guy, because like I think that this is like the perfect Pokemon for that. So while it does seem underwhelming, this is a really, really cool boost to this guy, and I really think that it's probably going to get that. Obviously, it still has like, you know, ways to attack with other stuff, but I really think that Shell Armor is a, you know, pretty obvious looking choice for what this Pokemon's ability could be. But let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Let's take a look before we go into talking about these other ones that we've already had released, you know, because I will get to them. I want to talk about the last two mons that are going to be in Legends ZA, and that's going to be Raichu X and Raichu Y. Two separate Mega Evolutions of Raichu have been newly discovered. It seems that each one Mega Evolves using a different Mega Stone. Mega Raichu X and Mega Raichu Y can be encountered by meeting specific conditions in Pokemon Legends ZA Mega Dimension. It's going to be in the DLC. But I do have a pretty good understanding of what I think these Pokemon are going to have as their abilities based off of what we actually know in Legends ZA so far. So let's take a look at Mega Raichu X. I realistically think this is going to be a physical attacker. This is going to be just like Zard, I think. It's going to be a physical attacker and a special attacker, right? I think most people kind of agree with that at the same time too. So it's ample, whatever that word is, fat, can store up electric energy, letting it maintain a high electrical output and heightening its defensive capability. So it's going to get a little bit bulkier, right? Using electromagnetism to propel itself swiftly through the air, it can take down opponents several times its size with a single blow. I think it's actually really important that it says that. Of its electrically charged fists. Fists means it's going to be physical. It bears a distinctive resemblance to regular Raichu, while the other one resembles basically Pikachu. So for this one, I think this is actually going to be very similar to Chesnaught. It's not super overwhelming. It's not going to get Tough Claws or some crazy ability that lets it just do an unlimited amount of damage. No, I actually think this ability is going to is going to be one that just lets it actually compete at like a high level against a bunch of the other Mega Evolutions. We've seen that Manectric was in this trailer, so that means Mega Manectric is going to be in the game. We know that Mega Sceptile is probably coming back as well, and Manectric and Mega Sceptile share an ability called Lightning Rod, and I really think if they're going to be trying to push this as the strong, like confident Raichu, one thing they could do with this is to give it something like Mold Breaker. Being able to utilize those electric attacks against things and ignore their abilities. I think being able to ignore abilities is very slept on, and I think if they give it like Raichu gets a bunch of really good other physical moves, and being able to ignore things like multi-scale and other stuff like that, that's actually really, really good. It doesn't seem flashy, but you know, being able to have Lightning Rod and then gain Mold Breaker is like absolutely amazing on like a Raichu set, in my opinion. Being able to like Mold Breaker Fake Out, I don't think people understand that that would be really, really good. Not necessarily broken, because like if you take a look at like Raichu here, it gets so many good things. Like it just gets Fake Out, right? So like you can Mega Evolve, gain that Mold Breaker, and then being able to fake out things like that Delphox through Dazzling, or like, you know, Friggraphs and stuff like that. And I think that's like a usable tech that a lot of people would like to be able to do because you bypass those abilities. So I really think that Mold Breaker is a pretty obvious choice here because they're coming out with so many other Lightning Rod mons. And speaking about Lightning Rod mons, let's kind of take a look at, you know, what Pikachu Y might be, right? So it says, it strikes swiftly and bathes foes in electric power. Now, I would think this one might have two abilities. I think you could have like an electric type Aerialate, being able to turn any normal attacks into electric attacks and get a 1.2 boost. I think that could definitely happen. But the part here is that they talk about it bears a distinctive resemblance to Pikachu. I think that means that it's going to be more of like a Pikachu-centric kit, and I think it might just get a humongous boost to stats, being like, you know, probably something in like the 120s, 125s, because it talks about like its ability to unleash power instantaneously. It's probably going to be pretty fast, maybe even like a 350 or a 250 something base speed. And from there, like, I think that it's just going to have like a high special attack, high speed, you know, be like what we, like a stat stick, and then have like an ability that's pretty underwhelming, which I think is just Lightning Rod. I think it's just going to keep Lightning Rod. It's going to really lean into that Pikachu line, and just Lightning Rod's a good ability. Like, people use it, like regular Pikachu with Light Ball sees play all the time, right? If we were to take a look at like a Pikachu over here, this sees play at like a lot of events, like not Life Orb, Light Ball, being able to, you know, double a Pikachu's attack and special attack. So like this is basically going to be a doubled attack and special attack Pikachu, probably just special attack, with like the speed stat to match. I'm assuming going to be probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 150. Like 150, 150, rest of it's like Glass Cannon with Lightning Rod. I think I could definitely like see that on a Mega Pikachu Y, but please let me know if you agree or disagree. I think there's also good options for it gaining, like I said, an electric type Aerialate. But I think like giving the Raichu the Mold Breaker play and this one Lightning Rod, it opens up options for this one to even see play because it directly checks this one. Otherwise, you would always use the special attack one because it would avoid things like Intimidate. That's my opinion as a competitive player, but yeah, let me know in the comments. So that being said, we're going to take a look at the last four that have already been revealed. Let's take a look at Mega Malamar. I think this one is a little bit harder to sniff out, but I think it has tells in its Pokedex intro. So Mega Evolution has caused its brain to swell and its psychic power is significantly enhanced. So the thing around here, I'm trying to find out exactly where I read it, right? This vividly colored light further amplifies the Pokemon's hypnotic abilities, allowing it to freely overwrite the personalities or even memories of others. A terrifying power that can make someone seem like an entirely different person. So it's the part that I wanted to talk about. Further amplifying the Pokemon's hypnotic abilities. Now, I don't think it's going to do something to make Hypnosis busted or get like Dark Void or anything like that. But I do think it's going to have something to do with the move Hypnosis. And so one thing that we could have so far, and I want you to actually take a look at this. I haven't actually suggested a lot of abilities that don't really exist. You know, I suggested things like Shell Armor, Dazzling, you know, Prankster, stuff like that. This is going to be the first ability that I suggest that isn't yet an ability, but it's something the game could really use. And that is setting Gravity. Let's plug up Gravity here. So Gravity's a really cool move. You know, a lot of Pokemon get it. So Gravity here. For 5 turns, no ground immunities, and 1.67 accuracy. So Malamar does learn that move. I'm pretty sure. It'd be funny if it didn't. There it is right there. So it does learn gravity, but I think upon Mega Evolving, it might just set a gravity for 5 turns. Or maybe even just like for the turn that it Megas, I think it's going to be for 5 turns, because you can just play Gravity Hypnosis there. And like that's kind of just what they want you to do with this thing. It doesn't sound like amazing. It doesn't like break the game. I also kind of thought about this Pokemon getting Prankster as its ability instead of Greninja, but like upon reading it and upon them talking about specifically hypnotic abilities, and then it mentions it multiple times, by the way, it's on the other side too. It will sometimes respond by hypnotizing them, making this an incredibly difficult Pokemon to interact with. It just leans into all of the hypnosis gravity strats, and I think that like some ability, I don't know what they're going to call it, like Mega Mind or something stupid, but being able to just set gravity upon Mega Evolving can be a really, really cool mon. It can let you play with other mons that want to utilize like ground moves against the opponent. It again hits your hypnosises and stuff like that. You can go for zap cannons with things. There's so many different little ways to make it work, and I think that being able to basically lower your opponent's evasion is a very underrated mechanic, and Pokemon's probably just been waiting for years to make a Pokemon that has an ability that activates gravity when it gets sent out. So let's take a look at the next mon, which is going to be Mega Hawlucha. This is going to be another one that I think has an ability that doesn't quite yet exist, but it's a similar branch of an ability that does exist. So taking a look at Hawlucha here. Energy from Mega Evolution has pumped up the muscles in Hawlucha's body. I think muscles, this is a very important word here. They could have used so many different words here, but they choose muscles specifically. Enhancing not only its attack, but also its defense. This is so obvious what it's going to be. I think upon Mega Evolving, Hawlucha is going to gain some ability that gives it a bulk up. Now, bulk up is a move that, a lot of Pokemon get. Let's plug in bulk up over here. So bulk up is a move that a lot of Pokemon get. Let's take a look at Cinderace. So bulk up gives you an attack and defense boost. And while it doesn't seem flashy, like these are the type of abilities that make certain Pokemon really good. I'm pretty sure Hawlucha gets it. Let's plug in Hawlucha. It'd be really funny if it doesn't learn bulk up, but we'll see how this goes. There's bulk up right there. So you basically get a +1 attack and defense upon Mega Evolving. And honestly, Hawlucha might even, I could see it losing a little bit of speed, maybe getting a little bit. But like what if it got like, 30 or 40 more Spadef, maybe lost a little bit of speed, gained like 20 more attack, and then came pre-packed with like a +1 attack and defense. That'd be actually a really usable Pokemon in a lot of situations. It's not game breaking, right? I think that's the thing. A lot of these Megas, they're not supposed to just break the game. But this could be a really good check to things like Mega Kangaskhan. They're going to be very popular in the new format. They might even add like a secondary effect to it that lets it hit Ghost, like a Scrappy on top of a bulk up, or maybe an Inner Focus on top of a bulk up. I could see something like that. At the very least, it might just give like a defense boost, but it says like enhancing not only its attack, like it says attack specifically. So it seems like it just gets a bulk up upon Mega Evolving. That's what I'm going to guess. I don't think they're going to give it anything crazy. I don't think it's going to be like a fighting type Aerialate or anything weird. Otherwise, they wouldn't have worded it like this, in my opinion. So that's what I think. And let's move on to the next one. Mega Victreebel. This one's actually going to be very similar to Mega Malamar. Let's take a look at this right here. Doesn't even say anything up here. So, when the acid has matured, it smells sweet enough to make others dizzy. This is very important. Mega Victreebel waves the leaves on top of its head to waft the scent towards the opponents, immobilizing them. That's so important, and giving it the edge in battle. So this is actually going to be very similar to another Pokemon that we already have, and that is going to be Hydrapple. I think it's going to get Super Sweet Syrup upon Mega Evolution. On Switch-In, or Mega Evolution, this Pokemon lowers the evasiveness by both of your opponent's Pokemon by 1 stage. Again, these Mega Evolutions don't need to be flashy. They just need to be, like, usable. You can't just give things, like, crazy abilities, and that's where I've seen so many people talk about what they think these abilities are going to be, and I think people are way off the mark. I think just like utilizing some of this on a Pokemon that has like a much higher base stat line, like a Mega Evolved Victreebel, that would, come pre-packaged with other abilities. Like Victreebel does get access to like sleep powder, chlorophyll boosted things. So you could be like a fast Victreebel and like a Sunroom team, and then Mega Evolve, lower their speed, and still like, and basically guarantee your access to sleep powder, right? I think that's actually really, really cool. That's a cool, unique thing that Victreebel can now do that like other Pokemon can't. And like, again, they went out of their way to talk about it being a sweet syrup that immobilizes them. Like, that would be basically an immobilization, super sweet syrup, lowering the evasiveness. That sounds like the same thing to me. So like, why would they word this way if this wasn't what they were going to do? So that's going to be Victreebel, in my opinion. Last Mon is going to be Dragonite. I think this one is pretty simple. So it says it soars around using the large wings on its head. Mega Dragonite has distinctive Dragonair-like features such as a pearl on its tail and wings on its head that act like feelers. Thanks to Mega Evolution, Dragonite can now fly faster and further than before. I think this is a pretty simple one. People have been asking for this sort of stuff for years. I think it's just going to be Dragonite with Aerialate. Aerialate is the wrong spot. Aerialate is the ability of Mega Salamence, which if we were to plug in like Aerialate, it basically just gives a 1.2 boost to all of your normal attacks and makes them flying. So what people want to do is they want to click Extreme Speed and they want it to be a 1.2 boosted flying type Extreme Speed. I think that's what people want. You know, it has humongous wings on its head. When it Mega Evolves, it launches powerful attacks at the opponents with a smile. At the same time, it senses someone in trouble. It has the kindness to instantly rush to their aid. Maybe it could be something speed related, even if it's in the middle of an intense battle. I think people have talked about that. It might be something like an auto eject pack, where if it like, you know, if it gets like a stat drop or something, it pivots out. But I really think that it's just going to have Aerialate. It's a good ability. It's been used on other Mons in a similar role before, and I think it's just really, really solid. So that's my opinion. I think it's going to be Aerialate. But please, let me know if you think I hit the mark with these, if you think I'm over-predicting, under-predicting, if there's anything you think I missed. And if you guys want to see any more videos like this, please think about let me know in the comments. We're trying to get to 50K before the new Legends game comes out. And if you guys want to show some support, watch some other competitive Pokemon battles, think about dropping a sub on the channel. And other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out, and I'll see you guys next time.